Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Waymaker Luncheon at First Free Ministries. We are so delighted that you have decided to join us today. We're going to be serving the lunch here in just a second. I'm going to pray for the meal first and then invite you to watch a video as the food is being served. So if you'll pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time together. Thank you for the opportunity to enjoy a meal and to learn about how we can serve others. God, we pray that you'll bless this food and bless our time together. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Please turn your attention to the screen.
We take every person in the family, everything breathing there that's unhoused, we try to provide some kind of housing for it. And we've been very, very successful with that. I was an orthopedic rep and had several good lines to sell, and business was booming. I was kind of enjoying my life. I was traveling a lot, and I just get whacked. And I never forget, one of the clearest voices I've ever heard from the Lord has said, you need to find the needs and fill them. And I began to go downtown and watch the homeless. And I had no idea why I was downtown at 3:50 in the morning, and I decided to move under the bridge.
When we started, we went and found people wherever they were sleeping, under bridges, on the sidewalks, in the camps, wherever we could find them, and we started bringing them resources. And we identified that the people most in need were women who were being trafficked. So we built a home, and that's how it started. And that was 1999.
We can do laundry, take a shower, get some food. I think what they do, the love they have, the support that they give to the community is like a love. I've never felt a love anywhere else like I have here at First Fruit.
You come in as you are, and nobody cares that you're on the street. Nobody cares that you are an alcoholic. Nobody cares that you're a drug addict. What they care about is trying to figure out how to help.
So we talk about this as a campus, and we mean that in the sense that all of the pieces interconnect and they work together. We have our medical clinic, we have housing for urban missionaries, we have our main building which has residential programs, has the big food pantry, but also has the day shelter. Because the housing is in a campus setting, their lives become part of the story of a whole community of people.
I've seen so many people turn their lives around based upon what First Fruit has helped them do.
And that's probably the most beautiful thing that happens on this campus, is because it's such a mix of outreach spaces and supportive housing spaces that forms its own community. And there's opportunities for service and meaning and joy and connection and relationship that is very unique to us.
So the work that you just watched is only made possible because of your support. At First Fruit Ministries, our mission is to share God's unconditional love through outreach and supportive housing with people who are experiencing homelessness, hunger, and human trafficking. And we think that lasting change happens for people when they're met with unconditional love, consistent care, and practical resources. So it's monthly giving that really fuels that journey from crisis to stability and renewed purpose. And so we call our monthly givers Waymakers, because your gift makes a way to ensure that people who are experiencing hunger, homelessness, and human trafficking in Wilmington can consistently access the critical resources that they need to claim and rebuild their lives. Your gift gives groceries, showers, housing, free access to medical care, case management, spiritual and social support. So your monthly commitment is so much more than just funds. It provides assurance and stability in our programming and outreach efforts. So if at any point during today's program, if you feel compelled to become a monthly giver, then you can scan the QR code that's on the sheet that's on your table, or you can scan the QR code over there and you can become a Waymaker. Now today's program is about hunger in our very own backyard. And as we have this big food pantry here, one thing that really sets us apart is that our food pantry gives whole foods to the people that come through, which is really cool, but it's like, I get home and what do I do with this food and these ingredients? And so we created a video series featuring our very own First Fruit Ministries chef called Cooking with Tamika that plays in the waiting room during food pantry and gives people just an opportunity to see some ideas with what they can do with some of our food pantry ingredients. You guys take a look.
Hi, welcome to Cooking with Tamika. Here at First Fruit, we have our pantry. It's 3 days a week. We have it Monday, Wednesday, and Saturdays. Throughout the week, we serve roughly about maybe 600 families a week. Today, I'm going to be showing you something you can do with watermelon, sugar, lemon juice, and I'm going to throw a little bit of mint in there. All of this stuff is things that you can find in our food pantry any week that you find. Hi, welcome. Today we're going to be making a watermelon agua fresca. Today I'm using watermelon, but if you want to use pineapple, cantaloupe, whatever type of fruit you want, it'll be the same thing. Just substitute your fruit for whatever I have right here, which is watermelon. So you want to go ahead and add this to your blender. And you don't need much, and it goes a long way. You want to fill this about to the max line. Right. And then we're going to add 1 cup of sugar to this. And then we're going to add water. And we just want to fill this about to the max line. This is something super easy you can make it with your kids, and it's very refreshing during the summer. All right, so today, after mixing it for a little while, I'm going to go ahead and add about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we're just going to go ahead and mix it again. We want to make sure everything is mixed very finely. After mix strainer, then you want to go ahead and take this and pour it through your strainer and try to catch most of that pulp. As you kind of push this through, you can go ahead and add a little bit of more water to dilute it a little bit to help it go through. Just a little bit at a time. As you kind of fill our gallon with water, all right, and we're going to go through one more time with the strainer. We're going to use this nice, beautiful, clear glass dish here, and we're going to add some mint to it, just for some more refreshment. Okay, so now that you went through with that second strain, you can go ahead and add some ice, and it's ready to serve. Okay, so now
Pretty cool, huh? And I don't know if you noticed this, but the watermelon frescas that she was making are what you have at your table. So you're getting to enjoy that today. Yeah, Tamika is awesome. And in fact, she made lunch for you as well. So we're really, really grateful for her. And if you want to check out more Cooking with Tamika videos, then you can find them on our First Fruit Ministries YouTube channel. So it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists for today's discussion. I'm going to give each of them a second to introduce themselves in a moment, but before they do, let me just mention their names. So we have Brittany Freeze on the end. She is the Food Partnerships Manager for the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. Then we have Leanna Stoker, who is the co-founder and executive director of First Fruit Ministries, and Ashley Rossi, the School Nutrition Assistant Director at New Hanover County Schools. So let's start with Brittany, and then you guys can just take a few minutes and tell a little bit about what you do.
Sure.
Hey everyone, Brittany Freeze here. I have the pleasure of working on the food procurement team at the food bank. We are a Feeding America affiliate, which means we work with a network of 200 food banks across the U.S. To feed and nourish our home community. So at our food bank, I'm located at the Wilmington branch just up the road off of Greenfield Street. And we actually are part of a larger network that serves 34 counties across the state. My role specifically works in food abundance and finding good food at home instead of unnecessary wasting it out. So excited to share more and be here today.
Thank you.
I'm Anna Stoker. My husband Rick and I founded the ministry in the late 90s, and our focus is homelessness and human trafficking. And we accidentally got into hunger a very long time ago. And so we opened our food pantry in 2000 by accident and became the food bank's largest customer for at least the last decade. And so we're really happy to be able to serve people experiencing hunger in our community and people that it plays a part in their vulnerability.
All right, thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Rosley. I'm the Assistant Director of School Nutrition for New Hanover County Schools. If you don't know, we have 46 school sites. 42 of those have their own kitchens and we serve food right out of there, and then those other 4 get serviced in an off-site style. We are serving thousands of meals every day. We offer both breakfast and lunch at all of those locations, and then some locations also have other programs that they participate in. But yeah, so my role specifically, I do a lot of the procurement for the district and oversee and kind of support my staff of 200 plus employees that are actually on the ground feeding those students. So I'm excited that you're all here today, and I'm excited to be here today as well.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all 3 of you being on the panel today. Let's get started. So when we look at the data across New Hanover County and even the state, what are some of the current trends that y'all are seeing about who is experiencing hunger right now and how severe is the problem that's in our own backyard?
Happy to kick off the conversation.
Go for it.
So many of you know that hunger has been an epidemic across the U.S. for quite some time now. Y'all have been doing this work for years. We've been doing this work for 40 plus years at the food bank. And the pandemic really kick-started the epidemic crisis of hunger across the U.S. And even so, 6 years later, New Hanover County and surrounding counties, there's an increase across New Hanover County when it comes to food insecurity. So there's a little over 500,000 people just in our service area, a third of the state, that don't know where their next wholesome meal is coming from. So that looks like 1 in 7 people struggling with hunger right here in our home state. And that number is even higher for some of our most vulnerable seniors and kiddos.
Yeah, like Brittany said, the hunger stats are 1 in 7, and it is definitely different for those school-age kids. So in our district alone, and this is just speaking for the public school side of things, we're seeing almost 50% of our students are on free and reduced meals. So it's actually more like 43, 44, but round up for intensive purposes. And in reality, it probably more students are probably on that borderline right there too, where families aren't quite qualifying for that assistance. So it is very prevalent in our schools too.
Leanna, First Fruit works right at the intersection of hunger and deep vulnerability. And, we serve families, mothers, unhoused. So when hunger hits a group like that, what does that reality look like on the ground? And how does hunger impact, how does it help get them out of crisis?
One of the toughest things about being broke is everything takes longer. If you need to run errands, you don't hop in your car, run to the grocery store, pick up a few things, head back to the house. Everything is an all-day project because you take the bus or you have to walk, and then you have to stand in line, and you go somewhere and you get a small bag of something, so then you've got to go somewhere else. I mean, just the layered complications that you don't think about unless you're living it every day. And so one of the things that happens is that you can get less done, spend more energy, and end up right back where you started. So one of the real things that we pay attention to in the customer experience of if you use our food pantry is if you shop our food pantry, we go by the principle of generosity, and we try to give you as much as we can, the most that we can. We try to elevate your service. It is a shopper model, and that impacts people who are vulnerable, not just by saving them time or elevating their day, getting them more done in one day. You know, if you're looking for a job, you've got small children, like there's just, you know what it's like, and then take away your car and take away your gas and take away your grocery budget, like it's a tough day. So we really try to focus on vulnerable people who we can offer the most generous support possible. So if you come to our food pantry, for example, we have kiosks where maybe there's the phone lady, maybe there's the food stamp lady, there's somebody that's gonna help you connect to mainstream resources. We always try to elevate your experience. And I think that when you are vulnerable, sometimes it's the smallest things that make the biggest difference. It's the kindness of a volunteer at the food pantry that knows that you like apples instead of oranges and's got a little bag set aside. I mean, those things really do make a difference. I know that seems small, but it's larger than you think.
Ashley, kind of building on what Leanna said, what does that hunger vulnerability look like when it follows the child into the classroom, and like what's their daily impact when they are experiencing this?
Yeah, so it can present in a lot of different ways. Oftentimes our staff is identifying students that are hungry by the way that they live. They might be wearing the same outfit that they've been wearing, you know, Monday through Wednesday. They might be tired, they might have behavioral issues, but the root cause of all of those big feelings and all of these things that we're seeing on the outside is truly hunger. And it can be very helpful in kind of like solving those other issues, underlying issues, usually hunger.
And I'll just add, if you haven't heard this phrase before, food is the first school supply. I mean, how do we expect having kiddos to engage in education when they're worried about food and having to go without a meal the night before? So yeah, we also are really in a grateful space as a food bank to offer more than 50% perishable and produce food, which means food banking and food pantries aren't just focused on dry goods and cheese block programs anymore. These folks are recognizing the person as an entire person and not just a number. And you may have heard Leanna say shopper models. That gives people the dignity of choice to say, this food is important to me, this is what I need, or dietary or religious affiliated restrictions. So it's really been a joy for me to see the strategy of food banking and hunger relief service at this point across the state and saying, what are your needs, community? You know your neighbors best. You have relationships built together with our kiddos, our most vulnerable. And so hearing what the community needs are and being able to activate and engage on that to say, here are wholesome foods, not just the easy meal makers like mac and cheese and rice.
Right.
I have one thing to add.
Yeah, please.
This is an example that I think everyone will relate to. COVID hit all of us in different ways, but I remember, I think it was the first year, I think it was 2020, the news started saying how there was a shortage of baby formula. And I just got indignant, and I just was like, absolutely not on my watch, this will not be happening. And I didn't know how I was gonna go about trying to solve it, but I figured somebody knew an answer and I could go meet them. And so we launched what's called Mondays for Moms. And so we launched a very specific pantry day where we recruited, if it could be found, we found it, of diapers. We partnered with the diaper bank. We found formula, wipes, whatever you needed if you had children under the age of 5. Because those mothers were really struggling, especially ones that were low income or precariously housed. It was making the difference between staying housed with small children in the middle of a worldwide crisis or not. And so finding solutions like that that really meet that specific need, where if you have a mother coming in and she really has no idea how she's gonna find formula, she doesn't have any idea how she's gonna afford diapers, and you can use a food pantry service to meet that need, you're changing a whole family's life.
So I think there's a common misconception about why people go hungry in our community. And so when we're talking about food supply, is hunger a problem of just not having enough food, or is there something different that you guys can kind of discern that's kind of happening behind the scenes?
Happy to jump in on this one. So you might have heard me mention I work in the world of food abundance. That means that our food bank team rescues food from unnecessary waste. And so I specifically work with grocery stores, the Food Lions, the Sam's Club, the Walmarts of our network to reroute food from unnecessary waste, which is terrible for our environment, building up in landfills, and instead making a meaningful impact for our community of service. So my vote for that question is really, it's not necessarily there isn't enough food to go around, it's a food logistics issue. Getting food to where it needs to go. And that's the part of the whole theme for today is how can we work together to do that? And expands into so much more than what you see at the grocery store. I mean, it's in schools, it's with our farmers, and so we've developed this amazing network of folks across the state and here in New Hanover specifically to ensure that we're getting food, wholesome food, to where it needs to go.
And on top of that, especially for our school-age kiddos, there seems to be like that panic in the summertime, like, oh my gosh, where am I gonna get my breakfast? Where am I gonna get my lunch? We do have summer food service programs, but the way that we need to run them can sometimes limit families' access. For example, we have a non-congregate program where families can come and get 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches, one-time pickup every Thursday this summer. This is the first time we've run this, but it's all the way up at Holly Shelter Middle School. And it's not very accessible for all of these families that are truly needing it, that are here in the heart of Wilmington.
So speaking of students and summertime, it goes beyond just serving lunch during the school day when you're talking about nutritional needs. And I know our county schools have built a massive safety net for kids. So what programs do you have in place throughout the day and the year? And what are some of the biggest hurdles that you run into in trying to get kids to utilize some of these opportunities?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, we participate in the National School Breakfast Program and the School Lunch Program at all 46 of our sites. There are a handful of sites that also participate in the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, which gives students an opportunity to have an additional snack in the day, during the day. It's not every day of the week. We try to do 3 times a week, but that snack is an additional fresh fruit or vegetable. We also have the After School Snack Program, which schools can apply to participate in, and we will provide snacks for students that are staying after school for sports or clubs or extra help, whatever it may be. Let's see, am I missing anything? I don't think so, but.
Sounds like you guys do a lot.
We do a lot. Like Brittany was saying, the food is there. It's just the means of accessing it and the knowledge of where I can go to access that food or do different things. And that is a challenge for us sometimes. And we do see that a lot where, you know, like I said, people can't get all the way up to Holly Shelter to get that food. So.
I would also say, in addition to food access, healthy food access, there's also a really big stigma. So I think a large part of this work is breaking down that stigma and making folks feel welcome. And at our food pantry or first fruit, that might look like music and cutting up together and knowing people by a first name basis, because it might be so much more than the food and the meal itself. It's the relationship building that really will go a long way to making folks feel heard and welcome, and you know, making sure that you're looking at the person as an entire person and helping them be sustainable in the long term.
So Food Bank has a food pantry, and you're also supplying to other food pantries.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, of course. So we're like the distribution center of our partner agency network. We have 6 branches across the state. Our home hub is in Raleigh, but Wilmington, with their campaign, gives them a run for their money on their square footage. So why do we need these branches? Why do we need a capital campaign for a shiny new building? It's because the more refrigerator or freezer space we have, the more wholesome food we can accept and say yes to our donors, and then distribute out to our partner agencies network. And when we say partner agency or partner in general, that looks like First Fruit Ministries. That looks like food pantries, soup kitchens, group homes and shelters, school, after-school programs, as well as senior center services. So we have this giant network of partner agencies that's around 650 partner agencies across the state at this point with our food bank. But for our Wilmington branch specifically off of Greenville Street, we service 5 counties. There's about 120 partner agencies that we work alongside in this important work. With Yes First Group being one of our largest customers, and just being in the same community and doing this fantastic work together. So that's why you'll see on our website we have some core values. Networking and partnership are one of those core values. We recognize that our partner agencies are truly the boots on the ground, the folks that know the community needs and are ready to jump in and do this work. And we wouldn't be able to do that without our partner network.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, hunger is a really big and multi-layered, complex problem, and not just one organization can take it on all on their own. So as we start to think about how those things come together, can you guys talk a little bit about collaborations and how do your organizations lean on each other to accomplish things that you wouldn't be able to do on your own?
So when Rick and I were starting the ministry, we didn't have any money. And so we started it entirely by faith. And so I told you we were going out on the streets and serving food, and then we built the house for women who were doing commercial sex work, who were homeless. That was in 2000, we built the house. And so we would go to the grocery store and just pray the whole time. And we would fill up the grocery cart with the things that we needed for the house or the street. And then we would just pray and wait. And then God would send someone, and they'd be like, the Lord told me to come over here and buy your groceries. And we were like, absolutely, he did, let's go. And that was how food happened at First Fruit for a long time. But God is such a multiplier that we prayed for the food to come in, and he gave us so much food that when we started the house, we wouldn't let it go to waste, so I became like the food angel. And we happened to be next to, at the time, what was the oldest housing projects that the Women Housing Authority had, Taylor Homes. And so I would just go with grocery bags of what we had that was more than we could eat, and I would go through the neighborhood dropping off bags of food. They didn't know who I was. I was, I think, 25 at the time. I was just bebopping around. And there's a season for manna, but there's a season for sowing and reaping. And the difference is when we became partners with the food bank, it changed how we got to do everything. And so when I told you earlier that we worked on hunger, but it was an accident, it was because I didn't mean to start a food pantry. It was just, that was part of the vulnerability matrix that was happening. And we were focused on unsheltered homelessness and women who were working the streets and they didn't have any housing. And then all of a sudden, out of left field came hunger. You should work on hunger, that's what we're doing. And so building the partnerships that we built, specifically the first partnership that we really built with you guys, changed everything. And so we've always had this impact on hunger because it's the through line. It's the through line for kids in schools, it's the through line for elderly, it's the through line for shut-ins, it's the through line for families with small children. It's for everybody. It's a vulnerability for everybody, and I don't think that we really understand the scale of how much hunger and nutritional challenge we have in our own community.
Mm-hmm. Ashley, what kind of collaborations is your organization working with?
So in our line of work, we can't necessarily donate food to something like the food bank or participate in that kind of thing just because we've got weird federal guidelines that we've got to adhere to. But what we can do is sort of discreetly identify those students that we think may benefit from those resources and let those families know that those things are available.
Yeah, that's good. So this event today has been called Hunger in Our Backyard because it's happening right here where we live, as you guys have heard today. And so for our panelists, this is our last question, and I just want for you to be able to share with our audience members, if they're feeling like this urge, I want to help dismantle these systems of hunger, what would be each one of your organization's biggest calls to action, and how can they really get involved in this?
Well, for the school side of things, you can always reach out to your legislator, your local legislator, do some research and advocate for school meals for all. We've been doing a lot of work here locally, and our director has also visited Washington, D.C. at one of those legislative conferences, to where we're really advocating to feed all children at no cost, regardless of their family income and the things that might be going on at home. Every school-age child deserves to come to school and have a hot breakfast and a hot lunch at no cost to them.
Yeah, I would have to agree, and just gonna make a plug to say support the farm bill that's out right now, and to tie it in with Ashley's call to the room, just know that you don't have to start from zero. There's a lot of organizations doing amazing work right here in your home community, and if you need a jumping off point, you can type in foodbankcenc.org and click find food and see no less than 150 agencies in our surrounding counties, and list the days they need volunteers, they list their phone number. So this work can't be done alone, and you don't have to start from scratch if you're feeling overwhelmed with the pressure of solving hunger. We can do it together, and you can do it by donating funds, you can donate food, or you can also donate your time, or your voice in advocating for what your community needs. I think there was this misconception years ago, and even to date, that you have to be an excellent speaker to be able to say, you know, how you're feeling, what your community needs when thinking about policy and advocacy. And that's just not the truth. We empower a lot of folks under 18 to even share their voice and get connected to the folks who we call policy and changers and makers. So speak your truth, work together. And when you're feeling overwhelmed or you need help and support, reach out to friends in the community that are here as pillars.
So good. Well, as for First Fruit, I guess there's really 3 ways that you could have an impact on hunger. We have our food pantry that is open 3 days a week, Monday for moms, so Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And we always need volunteers. It's a big operation. We have at least 1,500 family members that eat from that food pantry every single week. We distribute more than 1 million pounds of food a year, including the hot meals that we serve out on the street. I mean, it's a rather massive operation. And so we always need willing hands. And there's something incredibly beautiful about spending your life doing something for someone who will never pay you back. They may pay it forward, but they will never pay you back. It is a gift that you give expecting nothing in return. And the feeling of doing that with your life really changes who you are inside in ways that you might not expect. So don't underestimate the value of volunteering. If you're gardeners, we have garden boxes outside that, we love people to come and nurture vegetables and specialty items that we like to be able to offer in the pantry. So gardeners, please talk to Eric back there. And you can become a Waymaker. The monthly supporters are the bread and butter that keep the lights on and the doors open, that make it possible for us to serve that food every week of the year without end. So just don't underestimate the value. Even if your gift is small, becoming a Waymaker really matters.
Yeah, thank you. So we are going to open it up to audience Q&As, and I'm going to have Taylor come over here with this microphone. So if anybody has any questions, then please raise your hand, and we would love for our panelists to have the opportunity to answer your questions. We've got one in the back. Taylor's on her way with the microphone. We want to make sure that everybody can hear the question that's being answered.
Hello.
Uh-oh, but it might be muted. One moment, please. All right, please go ahead.
Hello. Do you have any programming around breaking the cycle of poverty? So people are hungry and people are homeless, but they'll probably continue to be if they can't get an education or can't afford daycare, so they can't go to school. And is there any programming that you know of, any people that are working on that part?
Yes, so that's the mission of First Fruit Ministries. So we do everything from street outreach all the way to permanent housing. And so we go find you and offer you a meal on the street, and we engage you and earn the right to speak into your life, build trust, and we invite you to come to the campus to our day shelter where you can start to get services, start to get to know the team, and then we'll either refer you to a supportive housing and you can enter into our supportive housing programs where you can stay and do the educational goals that you need, or the recovery goals, or the behavioral health services that you need to get, and sort of gather yourself. And then the goal is that you will leave those transitional housing programs and we'll help you get a place in the community, and you'll be stabilized and able to carry on and never go back to homelessness. And so that's what I meant about the food pantry sort of being an accent, because we were really focusing on that continuum, but at every stop along the way, food and hunger matter. And so mixing the issue of hunger into that is really kind of how we got here. And so, yeah, so that's very much the mission of First Fruit Ministries.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, we've got one up here. Taylor?
While we're walking, also just share that that's such a great question. We call that shortening the line work. So yes, we provide emergency food assistance, we'll give you a hot meal, but how can we sustain you as an entire whole person? So eventually the hope is you don't have to visit the line. And I know the goal for all of us is we work until no one's in our line, right? Like we solved hunger, but First Fruit is just one really shiny example of that work. I mean, there's financial literacy, there's workforce development programs. We have a culinary program and forklift certification program at the food bank currently. And we're just one of many organizations that recognize this is another thing that our community is needing, and how can we address it? And I think the first part of that is just being a safe space for people to share what they're working through or living through, and then how you can help.
That's great. What's your question, sir?
Hi. Good afternoon. I know we've heard about the partnership with food bank. I know at the pantry, because I'm there Saturdays, a lot of food comes from grocery stores. Shed some light, if you would, on how the relationships with the grocery stores are initiated, how they're maintained. How's that work?
Thank you for your question, sir. So we have established Feeding America partnerships with corporate donors across the U.S. So Feeding America being our parent organization said, you know what, we recognize how many billions of pounds of food go to unnecessary waste each year, and we also know that hunger is a crisis. So how can we cut down on unnecessary food and get it to people in need? And so these contracts and relationships were built over years to fine-tune and sort of invent this process to rescue food and feed the people. So part of what my team and my work is actually building upon those relationships, letting these donors know that there's a cost incentive. You don't have to pay for waste removal when throwing away perfectly good food. There's also a tax credit. There's advocacy and awareness to say, hey, look at Food Lion, look at this good thing that they're doing. Don't you want to come shop at Food Lion? So there's so many different incentives to help really build up this program. And so that's why if you come by the food bank branch up there on Greenfield Street, you might catch me once a day in office, and the rest of the time I'm in the community, building those relationships and helping get better quality food from stores, from every corner of the store, and donating it back to our partner agencies. And through that stewardship, we've just seen a boom in support beyond just what we're saving from the trash. I mean, these are grocery store donors that make it possible, so we always have Mount Olive pickles in any of our warehouses at any given time. And Food Lion, I'm just gonna give them a shout out, so David, if you're watching, thank you for all you do. But they're our gold star in our network because they've been doing this work as a pioneer. They were one of the first in the entire US to recognize that this is high priority for our business, but also for the community. So then it goes beyond to say, okay, do you all need a truck to help get the food in the community? Do you need a day of service to completely make over a space for a partner agency that needs paint and a facelift? So I think it's so much more than the food, but that's part of what my team does, just to help get to that 24 million pounds a year, just from grocery stores.
Yeah, that's cool. And I actually want to jump in on that question too. So you've volunteered on Saturdays, you've seen the big truck that we have out there. I had the opportunity to ride that truck one day when we go for our food pickups. And so, first of all, yes, Food Lion, we probably hit like 5 Food Lions in one day. And it's just the coolest thing. You stop off at their back door and they're ready for you, and it's just crate after crate after crate of stuff that's still in fine condition. And it was really encouraging to me because, you know, formerly you have that guilt, like, oh, I'm scraping my plate into the trash can, like someone probably needs this, and you feel like, oh man. But seeing just how many tons of food isn't being thrown away.
Yes.
Like grocery stores are just giving truckloads of food away every single day. And I was so encouraged by that. And then ministries like First Fruit just turn it around and give it to the people that need it. So it's a really cool cycle that's just really encouraging to see.
I'll also just add, sorry, Leanna, just really quickly, 2 key points of making this a successful program: the human element, having volunteers to help go pick up the food, bring it back, check it, sort it. It's a big job. I'm sure you have that experience just to see what one day looks like. And y'all are 7 days a week, 6 days for retail runs. And then secondly, there are policies quite literally built into these retail stores to say, yeah, you have to do that. But it's the people who go into stores, volunteers from partner agencies or food bank staff to say, I know this is something you have to do, but you live in this community. You care about people in your own neck of the woods, in your own neighborhood. And so that's the human element that really shines on both sides, our partner agencies and volunteers, but also the donors who say, yeah, I don't want to throw this watermelon away. I don't want to throw this produce away. I saw beautiful asparagus yesterday out in Mollis from the Walmart, and I was like, good job donating this. This is great.
I love that. One thing I will say is, there's a common issue that you run into of people who have a heart to give, but they want to give the apple. They want to be the person who paid for the apple that went across from one hand to the other. And if you try to say, I got the apple for free, I leveraged it with my car insurance and my truck driver's salary, it's like the whole thing falls apart. And so the conversation that we had about the logistics of it, you cannot overestimate the value of the fact that an organization like ours or any of the partner organizations, you know, we have a truck running 6 days a week. We have paid staff who go to pick it up. They do this all day. I have walk-in coolers and walk-in freezers, and when they, you know, start to go out, somebody's got to call the maintenance. Like, there are all the things that are involved that supporters are making possible, even if they didn't pay for the apple. I could get the apple if I had the truck and the staff and the insurance and the gas and the freezer and the volunteers to do it. Like, it's a big operation for that reason, and that's why when we collaborate, there's an economy of scale that happens to be able to serve more people well. And especially when you start getting into the more government programs, the data collection and reporting on things like that is rightfully so, very strict. So there's a lot involved.
That's great. Well, I think we've got time for one more question. Carly over here has a question, who's one of our Med North doctors, so we love partnering with them.
My question is there, like, who is allowed to use your services? Because I know that a lot of people in the community never feel, or maybe not never, but feel like, you know, it's not that bad yet for me, or they're going to ask for some kind of, like, I have to show some financial papers or something in order to be able to utilize the services.
Sure. You mean me?
Both.
Anybody, yeah. So who is eligible, basically?
I feel like it's enough to ask somebody to come stand in a line and do their own shopping in a crowd. If you want to give me your real name, give me your real name. I'll take your information if you have it and you want to share it. If your name's Elvis and next week it's Sandy, that's okay too. you know, we don't do any more documentation than what is absolutely necessary if you are picking up a very restricted type of food. So like the government cheese, you gotta have ID, that kind of thing. But if you're just, there are different kinds of food, and so our volunteers will know if you come in and you don't want to give ID, or you're not, you know, going to do registration information, that's okay. We'll still serve you. You can come as often as you want. You can come 3 days a week. You can get here at 6 a.m. and wait for our staff, which is usually the case. And so, yeah, there's no restriction on who can come, how many days of the week you can come. And, you know, we just want you to come and get what you need. If you showed up and said you needed it, I believe you.
We have a similar model, and we don't have the red tape that Ashley, I'm sure, has to navigate when serving kiddos. So I definitely want to give you a moment, but we've adopted this come one, come all. No ID checking. You don't have to have a New Hanover County zip code to be able to access food. We recognize that often people are traveling past county lines because they hear, wow, first fruit, look at what they're giving out, plus the hot meal, and they're gonna have music, and we're gonna cut up. Of course I'm gonna come, because we're making folks feel welcome. Now, I can't say that every single partner agency across our network, or even other Feeding America food banks, can operate this way because of their limited capacity. So we're really grateful to be in a network that has a philosophy that we're a yes food bank, which means we always say yes to our donors. Doesn't matter if it's frozen, dry, or refrigerated. We're going to say yes, and because it's time sensitive, we're gonna find good food at home. So come one, come all, but some folks might have limited capacity to maybe only serve once a month because they might be 65 plus years old, maybe have like 4 or 5 volunteers, and they're still trying to recruit volunteers from the younger generation to sustain themselves.
Awesome. Well, can you guys help me thank our panelists for today? Yeah, amazing. It was so good to hear from you all. And I want to provide you guys with our next action step, because we've got a few things that we would love to see happen. In fact, shout out to Christine Murphy, because over the time that we've been here today, she became a Waymaker. So thank you, Christine. And you can become a Waymaker too. All you have to do is scan the QR code that's there and go through all of the steps. If you're not ready for that, then at least join our newsletter. We put them out once a month, and it's just all the information about what we've got going on here. It's super fun. And all this talk about food pantries and food banks, you know you want to volunteer. So if you haven't been volunteering yet, then come out. It's a great way to get involved here at First Fruit. It's easy. You just show up Monday, Wednesday, or Saturday morning, and it just means so much to be able to give back through that. Before you go, I also want to make you aware of a couple of events that we have coming up. We have a Battle of the Bands that's going to be taking place on September 19th. It's going to be cool. All the proceeds are going to go towards benefiting the ministry. And so you can scan there to get more info or show up for that. Also, a campus crawl is taking place on September 22nd. That's where it's a chance to really get to know some of the inner workings of what we do here. But if you can't wait till September to get a big tour, we are going to be doing a couple of smaller tours today. We've got our CEO, Rick, and our programs coordinator, Dawn, are going to be taking people around the campus for a quick tour right after this. So you are welcome to join them for that. But I do want to thank you all so much for being here today. It means a lot to us that you would take the time to come and learn. And I think it means a lot to each one of these organizations represented that you care enough about what's happening in our community to come and hear from people that are doing the work and start thinking about how you can partner in that work. So we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. God bless you, and you are dismissed.